Yeah, feel it, and then it's just gonna pop. Just like that. No spill. Being able to bring that music that goes, you know, it went from my earphone to what the DJs are playing to now the artist is there to perform. That's really like the vision of Vino Vriday, is really bringing out that music, that new music, in a whole different type of way. So, you know, that's really just a glimpse of what's to come. And I think too, just in general, right, when it comes to entrepreneurship, pain tolerance is one of the biggest things in terms of your time, in terms of investment. It's the pain tolerance of your ego. Starting something from scratch, you have to show people that page with 0 followers. You have to show people that event that hasn't even happened yet. You have to show people the YouTube channel with 0 subscribers. Are you gonna be hurt by and being scared and embarrassed to share something from the start because, you know, people might shake it off and not really care? Understanding bar minimums versus event fees. There's a big difference between tickets versus RSVPs. And then into ticketing, another thing I learned is that people love buying tickets at the last minute, bro. Like, it's really crazy. One of the biggest things in entrepreneurship is like, you can only learn from doing. Everything else is a theory. Best year of my life. Really had a few different amazing, life-changing, dreams come true moments. And I just could not do it without my village, so I appreciate y'all. Cheers to y'all. Cheers to me. As Kendrick said, I deserve it all. Peace, y'all. What's good, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of Vino Conversations. This is episode 10, and it is just me by myself yapping about my 2024, not just within Vino Vriday, but life in general, as well as the things I do in the footy world within five-a-side, Wavy Footy, as well as film photography. So yeah, just a lot to talk about, a lot to reflect on. And this episode, again, 10 of Vino Conversations, and very, very excited to just do some solo yapping for y'all. As always, I start with a cheers, which I guess I'll have to be doing by myself today. But what we're sipping on here is some Sapere sparkling wine. This is a Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay mix from Napa, California. So I've actually never had an American sparkling wine, but I'm about to pop this and give it a try. But just gotta say, thank you to everybody who supported me this year, whether it was in Vino Vriday, five-a-side, Wavy Footy, film photography, anything in life, even people who are at my full-time job that I'm not leaving. It means a lot to me. 2024 has definitely been the best year of my life, and very excited for what 2025 will bring, and definitely could not be here without the support from any and everybody who's been part of my journey. So I appreciate y'all, and gotta give myself my flowers. So let's pop this. I'm a pro. Listen, you gotta be slow, y'all. You gotta twist, and then you gotta feel it, and then it's just gonna pop. Just like that. No spill. And listen, T, that's after it was in my tote bag too. So this shit been shaking and I still didn't spill. That's how you know I'm pro. You know what I'm saying? I'll give it a nice little pour. You always gotta angle your glass, folks. So for y'all New Year's Eve parties, don't pour it straight down so you don't get too much bubbles. Then you wait for the fizz to go down. By the time the fizz goes down, the person don't want to talk to you no more. Like, come on, I got to teach y'all how to pour some bubbly, man. And T, my favorite engineer, this is for you. Sorry I didn't bring another glass. But, you know, plastic cups are, you know, they got character too, you feel me? If you want to come grab this, feel free to come and frame. This is a family affair. I'll put this right here, you know what I'm saying? It takes a village. There we go. There's the cheers. See, I ain't doing it by myself. Cheers, yo. Give a little swirl. I don't know if you're supposed to swirl bubbly or not, but I'm doing it. So fuck y'all wine, quote unquote purists. All right, let's get a taste. Wow. That's one of the best sparkling wines I've had, to be honest. Especially not from like a major name brand like a Moet. It's so much like, I don't know how to say it, but it tastes like a regular white wine that's really smooth, citrus, medium body with sparkling rather than like that purely, this is like a bubbly ass drink vibe. When I think about like Prosecco, champagne and all that sometimes, I really don't know how to explain what I'm saying right now, but it just tastes like a lighter, simpler, easier to drink and not overly bubbly. Because some bubbly, they be doing a little too much, especially Prosecco. But this is very, very good. So a Chenin Blanc Chardonnay mix, sparkling wine from California. But yes, to get into discussion today, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, what it's been like to have a year of Vino Vriday. So we are now in December of 2024, and it was December of 2023 when I threw my first event for this brand, which was actually in my apartment lounge. So being able to take it from my apartment lounge to all the way to major venues having 200 plus people there, major DJs, artists to perform, all that kind of stuff. I'll be talking about that, talking a little bit about my journey in the soccer media space and being able to, start a podcast with my guys from the ground up. It's given us a lot of amazing opportunities, including this year being flown out first class to Chicago to work with the team of my childhood and meet one of the best players of all time. So that was a legendary, dreams are made kind of moment. And then just like personal stuff too, in terms of like balancing a side hustle with a full-time job. Some of the practices I use maybe within like meditation, breathing, fitness, all that kind of stuff. And then also just music, because that's a big part of what I do. And it's talking about my music taste, some of my favorite albums of the year, both rap, R&B, Afro, West Coast, etc. And yeah, so I just got a lot to yap about, people. So yeah, let's start first with Vino Vriday. So Vino Vriday is actually more than an event. As you can see here, I'm on the Vino Conversations podcast, which is a portion of my brand, Vino Vriday. And really the whole concept of it is it to be a creative outlet for everything that I do within a certain realm and sphere to kind of be one harmonious place to put it all together. So we have the event, which of course is called Vino Vriday, both a social event and a party, a place that you can connect and meet new people, but absolutely turn up in that same vein, centered around the experience of new age R&B. And that new age R&B honestly is just not outside the way that it should be compared to traditional R&B. And if you see an R&B flyer, you see that there's an R&B party. I feel like it's the one genre where you're expecting to hear old stuff. And my whole purpose within this event is to bring that new stuff outside, and not just the major stars of, Bryson Tiller, SZA, Summer Walker, Party Next Door, but also all these incredible lower key artists that y'all might not know about yet. And the kind of vibe that, it's Friday, there's a Vino Vriday, and this new low-key fire R&B artist has dropped. You actually gonna hear that at the event and give you that kind of unique taste that, you can't find somewhere else. But along with that, I'm also very passionate about West Coast music, which they're on top right now, as you can tell with everything Kendrick's doing. So being able to bring that R&B with the West Coast melodic bops, and then also Afrobeat and Afro swing, all that sort of genre that I'm really into, on top of just, general hip hop that we all love, especially, within Nightlife, just gives a very unique experience for the event itself. And also always got to have my signature roses there too. Then aside from that, as I said, I have this podcast, which has been having a lot of really cool conversations, which takes the concept of meeting somebody at Vino Vriday, but kind of putting it into a longer form version, right? So like getting to know somebody over a glass of wine, which is what I've done here. Had some really cool interviews from people that are, producers at the top show at ESPN, people that are making music, have their own wine brand, people in tech, photographers, and all types of stuff, man, urban planner even. So that's just a little glimpse of what I've been able to do within that realm. But, even within my events, I'm looking to partner with all different types of people. So I've already worked with, some photographers to have their artwork on display as part of the event, but next year, definitely looking to continue to expand that, working with different types of vendors, working with streetwear brands, working with other wine brands, and just making it something a lot more than just any sort of traditional nightlife experience, and making sure that it also is able to live outside of nightlife as well. And yeah, it's been a really good journey. I think one of the coolest things, if not the coolest thing, obviously, has been my 1-year anniversary party, where I was able to have Chase Shakur pull up and perform, which is an example of one of those types of new age R&B artists that I listen to, that I feel like music should be heard more outside. And being able to bring that music that goes, it went from my earphone to what the DJs are playing to now the artist is there to perform. That's really like the vision of Vino Vriday, is really bringing out that music, that new music, in a whole different type of way. So, that's really just a glimpse of what's to come. So definitely expect much more artists pulling up, playing some unreleased songs for the upcoming albums. I'm trying to work with artists for single release parties, EP release parties, album release parties, mixtape release parties, tour date parties after you perform. Like really tapping into like the music and the music industry is honestly the longer term vision, and really where I think Vino's gonna separate it, from other things, and really be a reflection of my music taste more than anything. And I think that's what always keep it, kind of new and interesting. Within Vino Vriday, part of that obviously is the fact that Vino means wine, which has been kind of a funny experience because a lot of people didn't know that. I'm half Spanish, so I grew up with wine and vino being synonymous with each other, but a lot of people actually thought it was like some sort of vinyl party. And it is not a vinyl party. So somebody somebody offered me cheese to bring to the event. Like it was like some sit down wine kind of vibe. And I was like, oh no, I actually don't eat cheese. And then she's like, oh, next thing you're going to tell me is that this isn't even a vinyl party. And I was like, there's no vinyls in this, bro. Vino just means wine. And I think what's funny has been kind of like the perception of wine. And when you tell somebody there's a quote unquote wine night, their brains instantly go to like one type of vibe. It's very much sit down. It's very much chilling. It's very much conversational. It's very much, you know, we can't turn up too much. It's this idea that like it's this like sleepy beverage, which is complete cap. Because at the end of the day, when you win the NBA championship, what they handing you? Some sparkling wine, right? Some champagne. You know, when you get in since Jay-Z started the whole bottle shit in the club, what was they bringing out? Ace of Spades champagne, right? So the idea that it's this sleepy thing and that it's not celebratory or that it can't be part of like really turning up is kind of funny to me. I think that also leads to like business activation opportunity, because if you think about tequila brands, you think about rum brands, vodka brands, they're attached to so much nightlife. They're attached to so many just cool events and culture, whether it's, you know, fashion, music, sports, etc. You're used to seeing those brands and that type of, you know, beverages associated with these kind of events, these parties, these nightlife, whatever it is. But you don't see that as much within wine in the U.S. specifically. But I think obviously the rest of the world is quite different, especially in like Western Europe. So I see that angle as a unique way of bringing wine in the U.S. into a bit of a unique space and allow brands to activate in ways that they didn't think was possible or to be accepted for their beverage. But I think that wine drinkers are getting more diverse, they're getting younger, and I think are more accepting to the fact that it doesn't have to be this chill, sleepy, sit-down kind of beverage. And that's what I've been trying to do within this, you know, bringing it into the space of having wine in a very lit environment. So that's just something that's a little bit different. And then at the same time, not forcing the wine down your throat. So shit, if you want to have water, drink nothing, kombucha, beer, shots, tequila, rum, vodka, I don't care. But might have a wine sponsor. We might have a wine tasting. We might have a wine happy hour. Might have the first free glass or something like that for you. So it's kind of the idea of showing you that wine exists in this realm and can be part of this lit experience, but also not forcing you to automatically kind of latch onto the vibes. And I think that's like a major piece of it too. In general, with my year of the event, it was like, I obviously have, you know, a very wide music taste and there's a lot of different things that I listen to. But I think when you're building something, you have to be a little bit tactical about how you bring people into your world. And so for me, one of the biggest things was like, I want to give you the option of the wine, right? I want to give you the option of a lot of this different type of music. I want to give you the option of these things, but still place it within other stuff that you're very familiar with, right? So making it that wine is not the only beverage that you're gonna drink, right? New age R&B is not the only music that you're gonna hear, or new age R&B plus West Coast is not the only music you're gonna hear. And I think it's like, whenever you're building anything, it's that balance of, okay, let me make sure I can give you enough of myself, enough of my brand and what really makes it unique, but also determining how to package it in a way that can be best accepted by the consumer. But while packaging it still with the other things that you like and you enjoy, so that you're not also losing yourself or selling something that you're not also proud of, right? So obviously, I do like a lot of mainstream music. I do like a lot of music that you will hear everywhere, because at the end of the day, who don't want to hear Sexy Red at the end of the night, right? It's not like I'm trying to take that out of my event. But before you get to Sexy Red, you're going to hear some Che Crew, some Che Shakur, Nippa, Coltrane, Old Deal, all that kind of music. And then we can get to Get It Sexy. So yeah, that's just, you know, some thoughts on that sort of thing. Another thing, I think within events, I've learned a lot in my first year. And honestly, not even really a year. So, well, I guess if you count my soccer stuff, it's been about 3 years of events. But nightlife and hosting parties is obviously very different. And my first public party was actually the end of February of this year. So even though I celebrated my 1 year Vino Vriday anniversary party, that was 1 year of the events in general. But in terms of actually like being public, it's only been since February. So even less time than a year. But in doing so, I've learned a lot of different things that I wish I knew in the process, and just, you know, want to be here to be able to leave some information for others, and for others that see it who know more than me can also drop some knowledge in the comments sort of vibe. One thing I think that's important to note when hosting an event is understanding bar minimums versus event fees, or if there's going to be like a combination of the two. So the bar minimum, what it often is that a venue will say, okay, if you're going to host this party for this certain amount of time, let's say it's a Friday night, it could be a Sunday afternoon, whatever it is, the bar has to make, you're essentially signing a contract guaranteeing we're going to make a certain amount of money from the bar. So either that's going to be from actual bar sales, or if the bar doesn't make the amount that you've signed off on, you're then going to pay the rest. And so you have to understand when you're hosting your event, picking your venue, what's the amount of people, how long is your event, what's the demographic looking like, what are all the factors you need to factor into if that number is realistic or not. Also, sometimes that comes with an event fee, where on top of the bar minimum, there might be a payment to just have the place for the night. Sometimes that's refundable. Sometimes that's not refundable. That's another thing to consider. Sometimes also there's a bar minimum, and it's not contractual in the sense of if you don't reach that number, you have to pay the rest, but it's that you don't start making a profit until you hit that minimum. So maybe it's like, okay, we're not going to charge you anything, right, if you don't make it to a certain amount, but you're not going to be able to profit off of the bar until a certain amount. Other times, depending on your deal, you might have a guaranteed initial 10% that you'll make regardless of anything, and then they go from there. So it's just something to keep track of in terms of kind of getting your finances in order. Because it's a lot of different ways that it can vary, and it's also going to also change by the city you're in. So I'm in New York City. Most of my stuff's in Brooklyn, so that's kind of its own specific vibe and standard sort of industry, which can be very different if you're in Cleveland, Ohio, if you're in LA, if you're in Miami, if you're in Vermont. You know what I'm saying? So just something that you got to think about with that. I think too, another thing you got to think about is definitely like the type of venue that you're picking, and knowing when you can do certain types of venues. Just to give an analogy, like right within music, if you think about a new artist and they're gonna be their first time on tour, you're not gonna try to get the Garden, right? That's obviously never gonna happen. That's not gonna get signed off on, and that place is not gonna be accepting you. So you wanna go for something that's gonna be more fitting to what your audience is at that time, and more willing to also take a risk on you as something that's new. And so as you're doing it, as you're building, you kind of have to get a feel for what's your crowd looking like. You know what I'm saying? What is that number that you're at? Are you already overpacking early on? Do you have more room to grow within your first kind of location, or is it time to expand? At the end of the day, there is no perfect answer to it, but it's something that you just really have to assess and then think about what is going to be the best experience for your people. Because if you have a smaller location and you're selling out every time and packing it out, that's great. But how small is it, and are you now excluding people from being able to be in this experience that you're looking to grow? So if you don't plan that right, now you're kind of limiting what your market or your consumer group can be. At the same time, if you expand too fast, now you're risking not having as enjoyable of a place, and also putting yourself at a financial risk because it's just not being packed out. It's sparse. Nobody really wants to walk into a party and kind of feel that empty feeling, especially if you're looking to really turn it up too. So I think it's just a balance, and it's knowing when you can do it. I think, if you're able to sell something out twice, then you should be comfortable moving up, if you'd like to, into something that's a little bit larger. I think you also got to think about the time. The time frame is a huge factor in terms of hosting events. So I've done a Friday 8 to midnight. I've done a Friday 9 to 1. I've done a Friday 10 to 4. I've done a Friday 6 to 10. I've done Saturdays 3 to 9 and like 4 to 10 or something like that, like day party vibes, or 4 to 8 and 3 to 9, I think it was. So each one of those, and then not to mention the season that you're in, and even the location and the type of crowd they draw, is all going to affect who's actually able to come out. And one thing from it, if you're not looking strictly to be at a certain time frame, is that you're going to learn. You're going to learn from what it means to have it at different times. My best ones have been my latest ones. So I think my most successful attendance was a Friday, the 10 to 4, or 11 to 3:30 kind of vibe, super fully packed it out, versus I've done a Friday 6 to 10. And I kind of bet on that, thinking, okay, if you get in here, you get to get into the after party after. It's a separate function, but you get to get into the after party. That'll draw a certain crowd. It's like the post-work happy hour. I put a cheaper price on it, free before a certain time. And I thought, okay, that's going to draw certain people. But it didn't. And that's okay. And the only way I would have learned that is from doing. And that's one of the biggest things in entrepreneurship, is like, you can only learn from doing. Everything else is a theory. And there's no proof until you actually do it. Same way, I thought that one was going to work, and it didn't work the way I wanted it to. And I got to repackage it 6 to 10 to make it more successful. At the same time, I thought late night Friday would, which is been what I've been trying to target, and it was by far my most successful one. From bar sales to ticketing to everything, and just overall vibe, packing it out, everything. That was the best one. And I was correct about that, but I was only correct from trying it. So at the end of the day, you know, they say like you only learn from failures. If you don't fail, you don't learn. But I wouldn't even necessarily call things a failure. It's just collecting evidence, right? It's just research. It's just doing, right? It's only a failure if your success metric is allowing it to be one, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's just a lot of things you got to try, a lot of things you got to access. And yeah, you just got to take it step by step, honestly. So, and then back to that as well, I would say that 6 to 10 was, there's a big difference between tickets versus RSVPs. It's something I've learned this year. So ticket is you've paid the amount that you're going to pay to enter ahead of time digitally, and you have been secured a spot at the event. It is a guaranteed entry. An RSVP is saying that, hey, I'd like to go, I'm thinking of going, and then there's a payment to be made at the door. But the RSVP, at the end of the day, has no real commitment from the guest. You're guessing if they're actually committed or not. Because I could RSVP, be the first one there, right on time, early, pay at the door, and I'm 100% going. I could just say, oh, this looks cool. Let me RSVP. I'll see if I end up going. Like, you don't know. You're really, it's like you have faith. You just have faith or you don't have faith on those people pulling up. Versus tickets, again, that is a commitment. So in my first year, within my first year of ticketed events, as I said, my first one was in February of 2023, so still not even a year. But tickets is the way to go, in my opinion, especially early on, where you really want people to commit to that. So, you know, obviously if you have a huge brand with thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and every time you have major DJs or artists performing, or you're attached to liquor brands, whatever it is, like, you can throw a free RSVP event, because the awareness is there that people are going to get FOMO from not pulling up. You have way more promotion of it due to your following and everyone's following attached to it. And then the fact that the types of locations that you're doing it are so major as well that can also draw a different crowd. So I don't know, man. I just feel like tickets is the way to go. And leading up, you really know how many people have actually committed to it versus haven't. But I'll say at the same time, even with tickets, you might have tickets at the door, or you should if you have not sold out, and you never know how well that's going to do. Because my most successful late night Friday one, I got mad tickets at the door. You know what I mean? And again, you don't know how it's going to happen, if people are actually going to do it, but they did. The good thing was, going into the night, because of having tickets, I knew how much bare minimum I'm expecting to pull up. And if they don't pull up, they've committed, and I've made my money at least, right? But nonetheless, that's another thing, like, you can only know from doing, is how many people can you know, as you go through these, how many actually buy at the door versus cop their tickets first. But again, tickets at the very least, you have commitment from people. I think the conversion rate on them pulling up is much, much higher. And at the end of the day, they already paid for it. So worst case, even if they don't show up, you got your bread that you wanted from that consumer. And then into ticketing, another thing I learned is that people love buying tickets at the last minute, bro. Like, it's really crazy, because as an event host, you know, you got bar minimum riding on this, you know what I'm saying? You got the fact that you hyping it up, you promoting it, you need everybody in the spot, and them tickets is not looking the way you want them to do until them last couple days before, bro. I swear, every time, it just shoots up. And early on, that honestly gave me a lot of anxiety. I'm like, fuck, bro, nobody gonna show up. How this shit gonna do? I remember my first one, I think I had, like, the Friday before, I maybe had 15 tickets. And by the end, in the spot only fit 100 people, I had like 125. And the majority of them came the last couple days. And maybe it jumped to like 40 the week of, and then by the end of the week, you know, it just super zoomed into that. So that's something you kind of have to manage, is that people are going to buy tickets late, and it's very scary at first. And then as you're able to see that kind of trajectory, there's like that early bump, flattens, and then it zooms at the end. Once you've seen that graph a few different times, you kind of get more comfortable in it, knowing like, oh, they're gonna buy them tickets, bro. You know, once it gets to like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're gonna buy those tickets. But yo, if you know you're gonna go, buy them tickets earlier, bro, because as event hosts, at least me, especially earlier on, that should give me anxiety, man. If y'all gonna pull up, just pull up, man. Because you want the party to be more fun than just like relief that it wasn't empty, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's definitely something, if you're getting into events, people buy tickets late. And honestly, even for, I've heard from people that are, years and years in the game, super established, people just buy tickets late. So it's something that you gotta deal with and learn how to, think positively, do all the promotion you can, and then get it from there. I think another thing too, in terms of bringing people out early on, you gotta in my experience, I think what worked best for me was prioritizing vibe and prioritizing affordability ahead of just making profit, right? Because my first public event was like a $15 or $25, depending if guy or girl, open bar the entire night, which is an absurd deal, you know what I'm saying, and is not remotely close to the standard rate, especially in New York City, Brooklyn, whatever. I don't care where in New York, like that kind of price for an open bar for the whole night is insane. But what am I doing? I'm prioritizing the vibe over profit. What did that help me do? That helped me sell out my first public event. If I was just trying to make OD money, or not even make OD money because you don't know if people are going to pull up to this thing that's never really existed, 60 a person, which is much more close to a standard rate, would as many people have shown up? Probably not. Especially, again, this is the first time this event's ever been public. And in my first Vino Vriday at the crib, I myself bought like 30 bottles of wine just to share with everybody for the night. Like that was out of my pocket. But that investment was like my test of like, yo, if y'all are able to have this wine, I'm playing the music, we got the games going, you got the, I got doing the film photography, I just build this energy. How does it do as a test run? And that mix of music and like, just everything about it. And it was fire. And that was December of last year. So, hence the 1 year anniversary party. Then February, taking it public. Okay, let me do the same sort of thing. Obviously now I'm gonna have to charge something, especially as I'm bringing people to a public venue and everything. And, I was able to execute on it. But again, if I had priced it as something crazy to start off, I don't think that would have been as worth it. I probably could have gotten some people and maybe broke even in the same way, but I'd rather break even with a packed party than break even with 20 people in that spot. You feel me? So I think early on, prioritize vibe and prioritize affordability for your guests over just trying to make profit. And I think too, just in general, right, when it comes to entrepreneurship, pain tolerance is one of the biggest things. And when I say pain tolerance, I'm talking about pain tolerance in terms of your time, right? Especially if you're doing something that's separate from your full-time job. Pain tolerance in terms of investment. How much money are you willing to lose and willing to burn to invest into your business to keep it going? Because you're going to lose money before you make money. That's just the nature of how it is. How much are you willing to invest? And how much are you willing to invest to give people that best product as early on, to have them believe in the future of it, that which you can monetize at a later date? You know what I'm saying? What's your pain tolerance for sacrifice, right? Like, not just investment, but like what things are you willing to miss to make your dreams come true? But at that same time, in those things you're willing to miss, what are the things you're not willing to miss is equally important, right? Because you don't want to lose yourself within the journey. You don't want to lose friends or, significant others, whatever it is, just because you're so tunnel vision focused. Because what's it worth it if you're not enjoying the journey either? But still, at the end of the day, you can't do everything, right? Your time is limited. Like, there's literally 24 hours in a day. What's your tolerance for sleep, right? Like, are you willing to lose sleep or not? And if you're not willing to lose sleep, then you got to really plan your day even more efficiently, right? What's that Netflix time you can cut out? What's that, not even Netflix time to cut out, but the time that you're working on your business or whatever it is? How much time are you doing things that actually don't matter that much, right? How do you make each moment really matter within what you're doing? Because the difference is, like, when you work a 9 to 5, as I have the last 5 years, at the end of the day, you're mostly given tasks and have like a specific project plan, project timeline, and you very much know everything that needs to be done. Within creating something from scratch, it's literally your decision, bro. You could do whatever the fuck you want, right? I could right now start doing Taekwondo in front of y'all and become a Taekwondo influencer. I don't fucking know. Like, there's literally endless possibilities of what you could be doing to grow your business. Do you want to make content? Do you need to research something? Are you trying to book something? Like, there's just so many directions you can go. You got to find out, like, what is the value in? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I just think that's another very important piece of it. And yeah, then what's even your tolerance for, what's the pain tolerance of your ego? Because that's a huge thing, right? Like, starting something from scratch, you have to show people that page with 0 followers. You have to show people that event that hasn't even happened yet. You have to show people the YouTube channel with 0 subscribers. You got to show people the Spotify page with 0, not even a song out yet, right? Or a SoundCloud, whatever it is. Let's say you make music. Like, that's what it is, bro. What's your pain tolerance for your ego? Are you embarrassed that you're starting from scratch and that you don't know how it's gonna come out? Are you scared to share because you're excited about something and it's got 1 like? Are you scared to post that video out of how many likes or views it's gonna have? This channel right here got 22 subscribers so far. But you know what else used to have 22 subscribers? 5-Side Media, which has now just hit 1 million views on YouTube. But it started from the same place, started from 0. You know what I mean? So what's your ego tolerance? Like, are you gonna be hurt by and being scared and embarrassed to share something from the start because, you know, people might shake it off and not really care? What's your ego tolerance for the fact that in the social media age, we live in a world of comparison. So everything that you put out can be compared by other people to other things that are going on. So you start an event in New York as I did, bro. Do you know how much lit shit is going on every single night, including tonight on a Friday night and tomorrow on Saturday night? And then guess what? Sunday. And then guess what? New Year's Eve. And then Valentine. Like, it's super popping and super saturated in New York City in terms of everything. Because that's just events. 1 million events, bro. But there's also 1 million streetwear brands. I'm on a podcast right now. There's 1 million podcasts. Like, it's just, it's huge. It's saturated. It's competitive. And that's why you got to kind of take your ego out of it and just work on your shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, just work on that thing that you love and is a reflection of yourself that you're being genuine and authentic through, and you'll be straight. Because at the end of the day, as corny as it may sound, there literally is only one you, even if you got a twin. And if you create through your true self lens, then nobody can copy, nobody can imitate, because they don't really know what's going on in your actual brain, bro. They don't know what your next move is. They don't know what the next thing that you're going to do. They don't know how much you have to offer. And that's what you're able to do to cut through the noise of this saturated city and market in general that we live in within social media or within the physical market of New York City. And I feel like when you're really yourself in it, that's what can make it egoless as well. Because back to what I said, what's your pain tolerance of your ego? Are you going to start that event and compare it to somebody who's been doing it for 10 years, who's doing crazy venues? They got 200,000 followers. They're charging $60 a ticket. Like, what's the point of that comparison, bro? They put in a decade for that. You gonna be tripping because you're on your first one thinking you're gonna get to there? Nah, like, step by step, take your ego out of it, you know? Yeah, man, you just gotta take your ego out of that. And part of building an event too, right, is invites. I can't tell you how many people I DM my event. You get a like, you get a on red, you know what I'm saying? You get a cool, like, whatever, and just like completely dismiss it. But I don't take that personal, bro. Especially if I don't really know you like that. Like, they probably think I'm just some random nigga throwing some shitty at. Like, I understand it. Like, and that's again taking your ego out of the place, bro. Because if I were to take that personal, if I were to take everything I've experienced in this shit already personal, bro, I would really be on some different shit. And I gotta sit some while before I get to the next part. And part of taking your ego out of it, I think, is like when there's like potential conflict that could occur, is not letting that deter you, you know, from doing your thing and just keeping it tunnel vision, keeping it on getting done what you got to get done. Because I'll give a very vague example of some difficulties I've gone through in, you know, hosting and creating my thing. And I'm not sharing this out of anything other than the fact that, you know, shit's not always easy. But essentially, there was just, you know, some gatekeeping behavior, you know what I'm saying? Just some, like, trying to negatively affect the ability for my event to occur. I'll put it very generically like that. And, you know, as someone in their first year, you know, and at that point, I was in my first couple of months, bro, of a public event. Like, to think that the hater shit could start that early was honestly, like, astonishing. Super, super, super astonishing. Again, doesn't affect nothing because, you know, we see where I'm at today. But it was a sign early on, like, damn, bro, like, this shit is not going to be, all right, it's not all roses, even though we got roses, you know. It's not all roses. And at the same time, now you got to deal with, you know, the eventual potential. Like, I'll be seeing shit, I'm like, is that imitated? At the end of the day, right, doesn't matter, right? If someone trying to fuck with my shit in a negative way, if someone's trying to copy it, I ain't about to DM people, start this, share this, fly. Like, we not doing none of that, bro. I'ma just keep being me, and I'ma keep doing Vino, and that's that. Pull up, have a good time. It's very, very, very simple. But I just say all this to say, that's, again, what's your ego tolerance? To put the stupid shit to the side and just keep doing you. Because at the end of the day, it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. There's going to be some negative little situations that you're going to have to navigate and deal with. But at the end of the day, too, don't let that override the majority positive, right? Because I have those couple examples of negative stuff, but overall, it's been extremely welcoming, right? Like, guests have been dope. The DJs I've worked with have been dope. Venues have been good. You know what I'm saying? Other event hosts have been great. Other, collectives and whatnot. Like, at the end of the day, I have been embraced by my peers. I've been embraced by people who are way more experienced at it than me, who have been doing it for years and years and years. Like, they've showed love. Other people that are new at it, too. So it's been a 99% positive experience. But that 1% can sometimes feel larger than the rest. And so you just got to learn how to manage that. And not let it throw you off, because it's inevitable in anything you do, right? This is events, obviously, right? But it can happen in media. It can happen in fashion. It can happen in sports, right? It can happen at your company, right? It don't even have to be on no entrepreneurship. It can happen to anybody, man. So, yeah, bro. But another thing I've really reflected on this last year, Vino, too, has been, and this ain't even about Vino, but it's about starting something from scratch. Like, you have a perception of who's going to support you and who's not, maybe, but you never know until you do it. And it's just been interesting to kind of reflect and see, like, the support you get from, and I've seen other, I've been listening to some podcasts recently about people kind of talking about starting things and everything, and, like, it do be surprising sometimes to see, like, the randomest stranger can show you the craziest love more so than somebody who's known you for years. And I don't mean that in any sort of petty way. I only mean that in, like, a literal, I thought it would be different. You know what I mean? Like, you think that your initial base is always just going to be, all right, anybody who knows me, boom, y'all automatically support. Then we're going to expand from there and slowly bring in. But you quickly realize that's not the case. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this from just, like, literally learning from doing. Like, this isn't in, like, any sort of pettiness. I'm just saying from, like, a literal standpoint, it was surprising to me. I did not expect it. But I think that goes to show you can't create to, like, impress people in your life, or create to, try to, get the girl, whatever that corny shit be in the movies and shit. Like, the Tales All This Time in those 90s rom-coms and shit. Like, bro, you got to do it for yourself because you love it and because you love what you're creating. And the right people that fuck with the same shit as you are going to gravitate to that. If you try to just create for your current circle, and when I say circle, I just mean anybody kind of in your peripheral around you, I just don't think that's ever going to really be as successful as just truly creating from the heart, doing what you want to do, and then having the people that truly resonate with that come. Because when I say I get random love from the people that I didn't know a year ago, those are now, like, some of the biggest supporters and the biggest people in it, because it resonates with them. If it doesn't resonate with you and I've known you for years, that's fine. I'm just saying it's something, like, it was definitely surprising to me. And at the same time, obviously, I have mad people in my closer circle. All my niggas show me love, you know what I'm saying? All that shit is great. But there's just some people you're like, damn, you ain't never, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's just something to expect. Like, the shit's not always what you think it's gonna be. And then, yeah, again, one of the reasons just for this podcast and everything is that I really want to make sure I'm documenting my journey so that from the earliest stages until whenever, you can see very clearly the step by step that I've gone through to get to where I'm at. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of inspiration that other people can draw from that. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, when I was doing, whether it's the Vino stuff, five-a-side, Wavy, whatever, I feel like there was a lack of inspiration, a lack of documentation of other people's journeys that I really wish I could have drawn from when I was in those ruts before getting to certain milestones that now kind of put me in a new, or me and my guys, whatever it may be, whatever scenario, in a new stratosphere, in a new, okay, we kind of made it to the next step. And then, so I feel like documentation is huge. And it just makes it more real, makes it more tangible when you see someone starting from scratch. And then you see, okay, a little bit of motion. And then you see, oh no, that shit like really moving. And then you see, oh no, that's crazy. And then, you just keep going and going. Seeing every single step documented, I feel like that just makes it more real than ever. And one reason I really fuck with Gary Vee, because I think he's been one of the pioneers in that in terms of his business and everything, has just been crazy on the documentation, and, like, you can tangibly see it. And I just feel like that draws a lot of inspiration, and it draws inspiration into whatever you do, because, we all do our own different things, but if you're able to just see that type of journey, understanding how long it takes, understanding the trials and tribulations of anybody doing anything from scratch. If you want to start a fucking honey business, a candle business, whatever it is, like you can see somebody going through those steps now. So I think that's, something that's very, very important. Getting into some other stuff though. Yeah, it's been a crazy year with Five-A-Side. Shout out to my boys in Five-A-Side. The growth that we've gone through has been crazy as hell, bro. One of the, craziest experiences for me has definitely been our trip to Chicago, where we were flown out first class by Nivea Men to create some content and also attend Real Madrid versus AC Milan preseason match. I myself am a lifelong Real Madrid fan, grew up supporting that team, studied abroad in Madrid, lived in the city for 3.5 months, went to the Bernabeu multiple times, was there when Ronaldo got his 5th Ballon d'Or. That was the same time I started listening to Gary Vee and started listening to like the idea of creating content and like using your passion as a way to get to a career within it, from scratch, to be able to then be like, have a formal year-long brand deal, our first one of that nature. Being able to meet Roberto Carlos, one of the best soccer players of all time, on my team that I grew up watching, doing it with my best friends. Like, that's crazy, bro. That shit is crazy. And I'm not gonna downplay that at all. Like, that shit is nuts. And additionally, I realized as we started doing more crazy stuff, you can't normalize the amazing things that are going on in your life. Because I feel like when you do that, you start losing perspective and you start losing the idea of kind of why you did it, right? Like, I could have just done that and been like, oh, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, nah, like the kid who grew up watching Roberto Carlos is now shaking his hand at a brand event that he was flown out first class to. And I've never flown first class to that in my life, bro. Like, that's crazy. And to be doing that with a platform we started from scratch, from zero, no corporate backing, no nothing, from scratch, bro. Out of our own pockets to record in this very studio. Like, that's insane. And so, yeah, that was definitely like an insane landmark moment. So was the Canary Cup that we partnered with Las Palmas from La Liga. So we helped them host their first ever event in the U.S., doing a tournament with a skyline view in Brooklyn, and sent a raffle winner to a free trip to Las Palmas for 2 tickets to see them play Barcelona and also have their travel and stay covered. Like, being able to raffle that off, an official partnership with the La Liga club. As you know, I'm half Spanish too, so that's the league I grew up watching. Same way I grew up Real Madrid from La Liga. Like, that's just crazy, bro, to have both of that in the same year within a few months of each other. Like, 2024 has been insane for us. We hit 1 million views on YouTube. That's crazy as hell. Past 10K on IG, past 30K on TikTok. And yeah, bro, like, just congrats to my guys. Congrats to us on Five-A-Side, feel me? It's been an insane year. And it used to be, like I said, bro, that's why you can't be scared to start from scratch. That shit was from scratch, bro. We did this from scratch. Same way I'm doing Vino from scratch, which is obviously much newer than that. And Five-A-Side comes from Wavy, which has now been 6 years in the making, which is also why if you're doing multiple endeavors, you can't compare them to each other either, because you're on different paths, different time frames, they're working with different people, whether it's more solo. But yeah, bro, I just got to say congrats to us, because 2024 has been crazy. 2025 will be even crazier, man. Love y'all at Five-A-Side, bro. So appreciate that. Another huge thing for me, as I said, more wine. Another huge thing for me is that I'm leaving my full-time job to pursue my creative endeavors full-time. So that being Five-A-Side and Wavy Footy in the soccer media space, Vino Vriday in the event and media space, as well as doing film photography. So pursuing that full-time, is a massive leap, but at one point you just got to figure out for yourself when is the right time to jump. Everybody has their own realizations on when that is. How much is the right amount of savings? How much already monetizing have you done? What's the outlook on it? What things do you have set in stone for 2025, like for the next year? So everybody has their own journey within that. Everybody has their own ideas of when is the best time for them. Some people leave their job, have a year savings, and they start from scratch once they leave the job. But I've been building it along with my full-time job the last few years in terms of like that, everything that I'm doing, Vino within the last year. But it just feels right. It feels right. I know the potential, and which will be the realized potential of what Vino will be within music, within events, within all of that. Five-A-Side within the media space, and Wavy Footy as well within the soccer media space, in terms of what we're able to do from podcasting, from event hosting, to interviewing players, digital magazine, collabing with leagues, teams, brands, fashion, all of that. Like, I just know what it is. I see where it's at now, and I know that when I'm able to put my undivided attention into all these creative endeavors, it's just different. And I was listening to a podcast. I forgot whose book this was. They were on the Gary Vee podcast, but they talked about the concept of burning the boats. And it was, I believe it was like a war tactic, essentially. It's like, yo, let's just say, we're having a battle right here. The soldiers are coming at us. Can we escape by boat to get to the other side? But if we burn the boats, we know we got to fight. You're going to muster up a different type of energy when it's the only option. When you don't have a plan B, when you don't have the safety net, you grind at things differently. And, I've heard that concept before, obviously applied to people who have pursued dreams in music, in media, whatever it might be. And yeah, I don't know, for me, just feel like time to burn the boats, honestly. So get them out of here. I do think, though, within this journey, people kind of talk about balance. How do I balance it all? How do I, full-time job, multiple brands, events, podcasting, photography, just all this shit going on. How do you balance it? And it's like, everybody has their own way to do it, and you just got to prioritize it at your own way. So for me, there's certain things that, like, no matter what I'm gonna do, no matter what, I'm gonna prioritize my sleep. I probably average 7 hours of sleep a day. No matter what, I'm in the gym, lifting, hopefully 4 to 5 times a week, getting my cardio too. Obviously love to play soccer. And you gotta have certain, like, non-negotiable health things that at the very least your health will always be intact. Meditation, breathing exercises, the amount of things that are on my plate, if I didn't do that health portion, eating right as well, I know for a fact I could not be able to handle this. From the mental strain on it to the physical strain on it, just having that clarity and everything, like, there's no way I could have done it without being able to balance my health first. I think then you have to get over productivity guilt. And I think one of the toughest things with entrepreneurship is that, especially when you're balancing a side hustle, it's a side hustle entrepreneurship, is there's that feeling of, I got to get out of my job, so I got to put in all this work. And anytime I'm not putting in that work and I'm chilling, I could be doing something else, right? Again, 9 to 5s, you have your tasks, you have a project timeline. It's all very, standard. It's all very standard and structured. It's not like that in entrepreneurship, bro. Like, you really drive the boat. So in that sense, on a Saturday morning, I could be editing another clip from the pod. I could be hitting up a brand. I could be doing that. What do I choose to do? I'm going to throw on Rory Mal podcast, probably play a little FIFA, have a nice little breakfast, work out for 2 hours, and then I'll get to my shit. You know what I mean? So it's like every waking moment, you got to learn to not have to have that anxiety, that productivity guilt that I could always 24/7 be doing something for the brand. But it's just not good for you, bro. You're not going to enjoy the journey. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be as beneficial for you. Even things like, anytime a friend has a birthday, I technically could miss that and say, nah, I got to be home. I got to edit clips, bro. I got to fucking think about this. And it's like, I got to plan this. I got to hit up this. It's like, bro, I could, but no, I'm going to go to your birthday, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll take my girl on a date. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to hang out with my sister. Like, no, I'm going to take the time to enjoy the things I do. I'm going to be mad productive pretty much every day. And then some days I'm not. But you have to get over that guilt. You have to get over that anxiety of just that there's 24/7 something else you could be doing, and just find what your balance is. At the same time, I had to come to the simple fact, though, the less you sacrifice and the less, to some extent at the same time, if I was 100% completely tunnel vision, certain things would happen faster. But I don't want them to happen faster. You know what I mean? So, there is also the realization that, no, if you do a little bit less, like, it will come at a different time, which I'm okay with because I've loved the pace of my journey. Same way Metro Boomin talks about the slow grind and that step-by-step process, and how he's been ready for every next step in his career because of the time it took, the work he put in at each step. He was always ready for the next one. If I think just back to Vino Vriday, my event portion of it, I'm not ready to do the biggest fucking venue in New York City right now, bro. Hell no. I started at some smaller shit, fits 100 people. Then you get to 150. Then you get to 200, 250, right? Like, I'm not ready for that. You know what I'm saying? So people think they want things to happen overnight, but who says that's going to be better for you in the long run? You know what I'm saying? Think about Five-A-Side. I needed practice in the podcast studio talking about these topics, knowing how to talk about a game within a minute and analyze it correctly before we're interviewing, players on the national team. Here on Vino Conversations, I need to know what it's like to interview people I'm more familiar with before I work on trying to get these R&B singers, on the podcast. Like, step by step, that preps you for the next thing. Same way, These niggas play elementary school ball, middle school ball, high school ball, college ball, then they in the NBA. Like it's a step-by-step process, man. So I think that's just very important. Few last things, just talk about some music. Let me have some more on my wine first. As y'all know, I am an R&B head, but I listen to a lot of hip hop, man. And within listening to a lot of hip hop, we're kind of in an era of like self-motivation, manifestation, you know, mantras, affirmations, all those sort of things. And I honestly, maybe comically to some people, I get that from rap music, bro. Like listening to Kendrick Lamar's new album, songs like Man at the Garden, saying, I deserve it all. And just back and forth saying that again and again and listen to things that he's claiming in his life, like that means a lot to me. And I leverage that type of music as my own personal affirmations, because I don't really do the whole in the mirror affirmation thing or like tell myself I can do it necessarily in a way. I really kind of get it through the music, in the gym, in the rep, just in my zone, like thinking about the future and what I'm gonna do, or on the train, you know, before I'm going to something, or in the Uber, or when I'm traveling. Like I really take that in like it's an actual self mantra. I know y'all be shitting on Drake this year, deservedly so, but he has some amazing manifestation music, bro. You know, how could I forget? I was on a Greyhound way before the jet, you know what I'm saying? And I myself have taken the 13-hour Greyhound because niggas couldn't afford shit else to get to Montreal. So that shit hits different, bro. And yeah, just like the music you listen to can have a really big impact on you. When I think about, yeah, again, really inspirational Kendrick music. J. Cole's journey has been incredible. He just released, you know, the Come Up, the Warm Up, Friday Night Lights. Listening to him back in, you know, 08 to what, 2010-ish, that era, to where he is now, like doing the anniversary concert he just did, like that growth, like he was manifesting and saying that shit back then, bro. So I really take that music personally, take those lyrics personally in my own life. Like that is my affirmations. It's through rap music and shit like that. Drake, same thing. I already mentioned Kendrick, and then other artists too. Saba has an amazing line from Ziploc, which I'm gonna find real quick. Let's see. And I saw him in concert too. Saba, very underrated rapper, talented boy out of Chicago. I got right back on my feet. I fell face first. The first time I'll admit it, I did. Took a couple years for me to feel like I did not fall upon all deaf ears. Niggas wanna wait, but I call that fear. At least I got a place for it all if all else fails. That's kind of how it feels, bro. Like, it can feel like, you know, you're falling upon all deaf ears, but at the end of the day, you just got to do it. You want to wait, you call that fear. So just definitely get a lot of inspiration from music like that. To round it out, though, we are, of course, at the end of 2024. A lot of amazing projects came out this year. I'm going to start with rap since I'm already talking about rap. So my favorite rap albums of 2024, rap albums, projects, whatever you want to call them. Kendrick Lamar, GNX is an incredible project to me. Just the best rapper in the world. He outdid everybody once again. Was able to give you some of the deepest, most meaningful music while throwing bops on there. Also got the melodic. He got the West Coast up on it. The production's crazy. The rapping's crazy. I just think he's on top right now. Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. I think she's, without a question, my rookie of the year in terms of what she's been able to do. The fact that this is considered a mixtape and not an album and is better than most projects of all genres this year is incredible. Her ability to tell stories, just how artistic she is in it, like the movie that is the album, almost on some Good Kid, Mad City shit. You know what I'm saying? Not to that level, but you know what I'm saying? Just that idea. How good she is live as well. And actually, like, you can just tell how much she puts into her work. And it's the type of artist that we need to see, you know, as we enter into our next gen. Tyler, the Creator, Chromacopia. I still love that album. I know it wasn't maybe to everybody's liking as much as Call Me If You Get Lost or Igor necessarily, but I thought it was very good. I love the concept of it. I love the idea of taking that mask off and how he explained that in so many different ways. I love, like, that dude that used to be the Outcast is one of the top rappers out now. Really cool production. He also was able to do an album that has the really meaningful songs, but then also has, you know, the super bops like Sticky. I know I'll be hearing that every time I'm outside. Vince Staples. Let me just get the album correct. Vince Staples, Dark Times. You can see a little bit of a Cali bias I may or may not have, but I thought Dark Times was an incredible project. He, in a very special way, spoke about kind of like that gangsta anxiety that he's lived with, and just really, really good storytelling. And and one of the just rawest rappers out there. And I think even aside from the storytelling, the lyrics and everything, just like the sonically, it's an amazing album. And he just paints incredible pictures. And it's crazy that he's the same guy who's probably the funniest rapper out there and has his own comedy show on Netflix. Like, very, very talented dude. More West Coast bias. Schoolboy Q, I loved his album as well. Blue Lips. Yeah, Blue Lips is the album. Loved his album as well. I thought it was the best one that he's dropped yet. TDE on top, as you can tell. And Larry June. Larry June also is an artist I fuck with heavy, not from LA, but from San Francisco. This year, the album that he dropped was Doing It For Me, and I especially resonate with a song, Moneybag, and just talks about how money can change the people around you. I really, really, really like that song, especially to end the project. And then to New York, I gotta give it to Cash Cobain with his album Play Cash Cobain. Let me just make sure that's the right name. Yes, it is. Obviously, the sexy drill movement has been crazy. Just an absolute, like, the same way I was talking about how the West Coast has this melodic bop that's just super infectious. I feel like sexy drill is that melodic, enjoyable, smooth version for New York right now. Obviously, they've had the other kind of stuff in the past, from the 90s and whatever, but I'm talking about right now. I just feel like you can't miss. You have that right beat, that right bop, the little shoulder movement with it, and they kind of line it up so that the bars hit with the beat in a certain way. It's just so casual, so calm, so fun, and it's not about murder, bro. So it's a good switch from the other previous drill we had. And then R2R Mo as well, who's actually my favorite sexy, I won't say he's a sexy drill artist, but he's my favorite artist in the sexy drill scene, R2R Mo. So this year he dropped the album Mr. R2R. I think his production within that kind of genre is the most like complex and different. And I like probably his voice the most, and I see his rapping ability probably the highest rapping ability in that genre. I could see him really thriving outside of this current subgenre that exists right now. And I could see his musical career really blossoming in other ways, because especially songs like Masterpiece and the things he's talking about too, like you don't always hear a sexy drill beat and hear some like real meaningful lyrics and like talk about inspiration and all of this. So he has the fun shit, he has the lit shit, he has all the club bangers, but he's got that vibe and motivation to him that I see is going to be a lot beyond what he currently does, or what that genre is currently seen as. Within R&B, one of my favorite albums of the year, well, I'm about to list out a few, but some of my favorite albums of the year, definitely Drugs and Lullabies by Isaiah Falls. Flawless, top to bottom. Also saw him in concert, incredible live singer. Beginning to end, 12 tracks, 24 minutes, straight to the point. Every song is amazing, honestly. Like, from the intro to the interludes, the different vocal tones that he sings on, the different types of beats and the production, the features, it just feels like him. It feels like that debut. It feels like Florida Baby, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really, really fuck with his project, Drugs and Lullabies. And he's honestly, to me, had a flawless start to his career. Like, that shit has been incredible. I've already talking about her before, but Ramon and her album Children of the Night, again, an Eritrean Dutch artist, also a 27-year-old in Aquarius, big gang, big twin. Her album Children of the Night is incredible. A very, very personal debut album, and Children of the Night being a metaphor of kind of like her people, her community, and what it's like to grow up in Amsterdam the way that she did. She's got those really serious songs. She's got the smooth late night shit. She got the dancey shit. She got alternative sounds. She got straight R&B. She got electro. Like, just really, really talented. And she's going to break way beyond the boundaries of being a European artist, without a doubt. Leon Thomas's album was incredible as well. Thinking just like how far he's come from being, what was that show, Victoria's T? Leon Thomas, right? Yeah. For Leon Thomas to go from like Victorious to where he is now, it just shows you never know when your time is going to come. So Mutt, I felt it was an incredible album, not just for the sounds and how well he can sing, obviously how good the production is, but like his pen in the writing is incredible too. So I think that's what stood out the most to me. And, you know, R&B can be kind of bland at times if somebody's just only singing about simply relationship shit. So I think when you go beyond the scope of that, brings a lot more value, and Mutt certainly did that, which is the reason I really fuck with him. Another reason I also fuck with Bryson Tiller, who's spoken about a lot of other stuff in his music. I really liked his album, honestly, Bryson Tiller, the self-titled one. It was a little bit different. It was a bit more upbeat than his previous projects. I think it's also, yeah, just more outside music, honestly. Like, Whatever She Wants was probably his biggest solo banger, other than Don't. But in terms of, like, solo banger, that's just a banger and not, like, just a hit song, quote-unquote, whatever she wants, obviously got it. Calypso did really well. Outside did really well. Like Child too, I heard a lot. You know, Persuasion with Victoria Monet. It was a different vibe for him. A little more electro, a little more futuristic in a way too, as you can tell by the album cover itself. But I liked it a lot. Party Next Door was back this year. Long awaited. Continuing his P series, Party Next Door 1, Party Next Door 2, 3. Dropped P4 this year with the craziest album cover of 2024. But I thought it was phenomenal. I thought, you know, he fit within his traditional realm. He didn't really expand too much. But nonetheless, the execution of it to me was pretty flawless. Another album to me that I'd say pretty much no skips. And a big improvement from P3, and I think kind of set his career back on the right trajectory, especially after taking so much time off. And I'm very excited for his eventual album with Drake that hopefully drops next year. And then there's a fewer lower key artists that dropped some stuff this year that I really rock with. Raheem from Toronto, Safe from Toronto, Nipper from the UK, Callie Claire from the UK, Chico Russ from Montreal, and Kari from San Francisco. A bunch of lower key R&B artists that I feel like have some really, really talented albums, projects, mixtapes, singles, sounds, vibes that have just dropped, all in different sort of ways. You know, some are more smooth late night shit, some is more upbeat, some's on that toxic vibe, some is lover boy, lover girl energy. But I think they're all have very, very bright futures. And then additionally, I'd be remiss without shouting out Layla, who dropped an incredible album, her debut, and it's even more incredible for how young she is. So her album was called Gap Year, I believe. Yeah, Gap Year. And she's also the daughter of legendary Brooklyn rapper Mos Def. Yeah, her album was crazy, bro. Like, for her to have the song Problem on there, but then to have acoustic Lauryn Hill sounding songs, and then some of this like alternative pop music, and then some like straight R&B, and then the writing, like the pen in her shit, to be able to create what she's doing at her age, nah, she's different. She's another one who's future to me. Like what I saw from Doechii in rap, like that talent, that project, that trajectory is how I feel like Layla in R&B, bro. Like she is different. Probably haven't been this impressed from an early album in R&B since like Summer Walker's early stuff. That's some of the vibe. They call it like bedroom R&B. Nah, she's different. And not bedroom like that. Bedroom like pop, like I'm writing in my diary kind of vibe that Summer kind of did really well early on. Layla, like, yeah, bro. She's different. And then I also got to give it up to our Afro Queens, man. Thames, Fire album. Ira Star, Fire album. Tyler, Fire album. And, like, she's just a global superstar at this point. And, yeah, bro, I feel like we've never really had a ton of African women break into the music scene in the U.S. the way we have now. So to see all three of them doing this well is very, very cool. I think it's just part of how global music is becoming right now, especially in a city like New York where you're going to hear all types of genres outside. So yeah, all three of them definitely went crazy. And then I would be remiss without saying as well, the West Coast is up, bro. I tried telling y'all, bro. That's the reason I got West Coast part of my party, man. The sounds out there, the bops are infectious. And not like us, regardless of the beef. Fuck the beef. Don't gotta talk about any of that. The infectiousness of that song, you see what it did, bro. The infectiousness of Squabble Up, you see what it's doing, bro. The infectiousness of TV Off, like, and that's from their biggest rapper, you know. So outside of him, you got Blast, you got Bino Radu, you got Kaylin For Real, you got the Blue Bucks Clan, you got all these dudes out there, bro. Not to mention Tyler's from out there, Vince Staples is from out there, Schoolboy Q's from out there. Like, that West Coast sound, bro, I'm telling you, that bop, when it hits differently. And I tried to tell you, man. And they did it. That's why they on top, bro. Word, man. But, yeah, man, just very last thing I'm going to say on here. Thank you, everybody who has supported me this last year in anything I do, whether it was Vino Vriday, whether it was Five-A-Side, whether it was Wavy, whether it was film photography, whether it was just my personal life, my people. I appreciate y'all. Again, best year of my life has really set up a different level 2025 and a different level 2026, and just really had a few different amazing life-changing dreams come true moments, and I just could not do it without my village, so I appreciate y'all. I'm really excited for 2025. A lot in store. Again, I'm leaving my full-time job, so I'll be full-time freelance. So if you're looking to do anything within events, within podcasting, within media in general, photography, music, fashion, modeling, etc. I'm here. I'm ready to work. Cheers to y'all. Cheers to me. As Kendrick said, I deserve it all. Peace, y'all.